And maybe she would have rejected that guy as well. Maybe she's the one who got tricked this time.
Maybe. And
you know
who that man was?
What?
O.J. Simpson. No, just kidding. No. Yeah. Welcome back to the D2 podcast, where we talk about sports, politics, culture.
I'm Dave.
And I am Dave. And again, we're going to go back to an interesting subject that we started skimming the surface on.
Yes.
Subject of social relationships in middle age, to who we are part of.
Yeah.
Of which we are part of. Okay, so a question came up recently among one of our female friends. They said, what are middle-aged guys looking for? What do they want? What are they seeking for in relationships?
They're asking what turns you on.
Or what turns you on. Yeah. That's maybe that.
What qualities in a woman turn you on?
Okay. Number one, we're assuming single middle-aged men, right? Who a lot of us are like sort of recently divorced or like newly single, whatever. Yeah. What are they looking for? And it seems to be that insert Haktua girl right here. No.
Are we looking for a girl like that?
I mean, some.
Okay, so obviously, as any guy of any age, we love, a nice figure, body, good looking, whatever. Let's get that out of the way, right? Yeah. Okay, just let's talk about other things. Okay, so
that's what we'd like to have.
Yeah, that's what we like to have, right? And yeah, we can have that possibly, but at the same time, I think as you get older, and if you want someone, a relationship with someone, you think those the most important things? To some degree, you want some, part of that, right? But you can't have, a complete 10, I guess, and have them, and have other qualities that you just find completely detestable.
Okay, all right, I've come across this a few times among people I know, where let's take a case example. We'll call him Dylan. Okay, Dylan is around 60. Okay, Dylan's around 60, and he's a well-to-do professional, and Dylan he's been divorced for quite a while, but he has some money.
Sure.
And he had some success dating younger women before.
Right.
And for some reason, he still thinks he's able to get really attractive younger women. Right.
Can he?
Or
does he? I mean,
okay. His dating history was because he had a certain reputation, like as a successful business person.
Right.
He would get introduced to attractive women, younger women.
Sure.
And he's a nice guy, and he's totally nice looking. He's not a great looking guy, but he's like, not terrible. Right.
So he's above average.
I think
average.
I think average. Okay. But he's, relatively fit. Okay.
Yeah.
And so Dylan is, so he sort of built up this idea that, I can still get hot, young, almost model-esque girls because of my success.
Okay.
Right? But it's like, and this attitude seems prevalent among people who are maybe richer or who have more means.
Sure.
And I guess it works sometimes. But it's totally unrealistic because, first of all, they're not going to be with you long term unless you're able to provide a family and money and security going forward in their lives.
Yeah.
And there's an unrealistic expectation among a lot of rich middle-aged dudes, I think.
I think you're right. I think that, can someone get some model-esque or top, as far as looks go, absolutely. But a lot of times, I don't know, maybe this is just LA. You have to deal with a lot of little things, other things that maybe you don't want to deal with. And part of that is, yeah, a lot of them are, the materialism is
Yeah,
there.
I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. And realistically, you got to ask yourself, do you want to deal with that? Is that what you want?
Mhm.
And maybe you do. Maybe you're willing to do that. But, I see myself, I'm like, no, not going to anywhere near that, And, I guess the people that do attract those types of women obviously have a lot of money
Yeah,
and they flaunt the money too. So,
I and I just heard another story about a person I used to work with.
mm-hmm.
He is, around that age, around 62, and
Yeah.
so Richard is successful executive,
Yeah.
and he got divorced 10 years ago, and he recently was in a relationship and knocked up a woman who's 35.
Okay.
Okay, so roughly 25, 30.
Congratulations. You knocked someone up
Yeah.
35.
And so he has a new child that should be the age of his daughter's child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm just like, this man has just created a giant new set of responsibilities for himself
Yeah.
going forward.
I mean, if that's what he wants,
I don't know if
congratulations.
is that what he wants. So I remember he would always talk about retiring, and this guy's not retiring ever.
No,
Not anymore.
no, he did it to himself though.
Yeah. Maybe he's happy. I don't know.
I don't know how that happened though. I mean, is that something he he just didn't think about, or
I
is this something that the woman had something to do with,
it
like
it sounds it
kind
sounds
of
like it was a sort
pressured
of
him or something?
office affair,
Yeah.
and they got carried away, and pop comes a baby, pop out, pop pop goes a baby, right? Um, so
Yeah.
sometimes that happens, obviously, but it's kind of like, is that what? I don't think that's what middle-aged dudes are seeking. Do they want
No.
the new family?
For
No.
me, I don't want another kid. I
Yeah.
have, you know, kids of myself
Yeah.
that are, I want to be able to, whenever they have issues or need something from me, I want to be able to be there.
Yeah. You still
So
want to provide.
I don't want to waste my time on another kid.
Yeah.
Having to grow, and I mean, I think I'm done. I'm done past that phase of my life. So I don't think I could handle that if that happened.
Yeah.
It's something I do not want. I mean, I'm just too old for that.
it's like a lot of guys our age. It's like
Mm-hmm.
now, but then they want that youth. I think that's the problem. They're seeking unrealistic youth.
Well, it's very easy to get uh, to fall for
Mm-hmm.
some hot chick, right?
Yeah.
And so when the opportunity arises, yeah, a lot of people can fall for that. And so then you have to evaluate, is this person someone that I could be with long term? Yes or no? And you have to look at their qualities outside of that thing, outside of the looks and everything. And some people are not willing to do that. I think they're just like willing to just kind of ignore those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you have things that happen where it becomes a very toxic relationship or something, and you're with a younger, hotter looking girl, but you're miserable.
I think a lot of dudes will put up with that if they can
Yeah.
have that hot girl, though.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that especially in LA, there's a lot of attractive middle-aged women who
Sure.
have maintained their attractiveness,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
it's like they complain, maybe rightfully so,
Uh-huh.
all the time that guys their age don't want to date them. right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because guys are always looking for younger.
Yeah.
And is that is that a
Seems like those women are also looking for younger men too
do you think
sometimes,
you
or
think
they somehow, I've heard a lot of them that get, yeah, they go on dates with younger men and
Mhm.
stuff. Um,
So do you think there's a giant component of unrealistic expectations on both sides?
there's definitely expectations on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't know if are they unrealistic. I think so to some degree. I think a lot of women are looking for all sorts of things. At least when if you're going to ask them,
Hmm.
and you hear all that, and you're like, yeah, that's pretty unrealistic.
Yeah.
And then I think along the guys, I think same thing. Maybe they well, guys are a little more simpler, I think, in what they'll just go for.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think you know um, I think guys are a little different actually. I think guys that they you know they'll, as far as looks go, there's a certain threshold they'll go for it, right? And but
I mean,
and
yeah,
they'll
you got to have a certain level of chemistry
yeah,
with
yeah.
a person.
So, but I think women are, it's hard to say,
Yeah.
um, on paper when you ask them, they'll say these things, and it seems like it'll be unrealistic.
Yeah.
But then you know you meet them and you talk to them, and you're not all those
Yeah.
things, and yeah, they end up like you can find a way sometimes
Yeah.
to they become attracted to you somehow, based on other things, right?
This
So I
yeah.
don't know.
There this is a kind of an example of the sort of weird
Yeah,
dynamics of middle-aged dating, but
yeah,
like a few years ago I dated a woman who I thought she's attractive enough,
yeah,
and we went out on a date and through an
hmm,
app, and
yeah,
and I she had sort of like tricked me a little bit with like her photos and
yeah.
stuff, but
You're not the only one, Dave.
it happens, right?
I'm sure a lot
Yeah,
of people will
yeah,
say that.
and we had an okay time. We had
Yeah,
a good conversation,
hmm,
and although I wasn't really that physically into her,
hmm,
I was like, I'm an adult.
yeah,
Let's see if something can really um,
hmm,
sort of blossom from
yeah,
this, right?
yeah.
Beyond just being chemically attracted to each other,
Right, right.
right? And I thought we had a good talk, and then I called her again. I said, hey, I had fun. Let's hang out.
Yeah,
And then she, told me that she didn't feel chemistry
yeah,
with me,
yeah,
and I was just like, and I wanted to say, oh, really? You didn't have
yeah.
chemistry with me when I
Uh-huh.
was honest about my photos and whatever.
Hmm.
Okay, I didn't. I said,
Yeah.
oh, okay, sure, no problem.
Hmm.
A few years later,
Yeah.
I ran into her
Uh huh.
at a sushi restaurant,
Yeah.
and I don't think she recognized me. And I saw her,
Yeah.
and she had sort of put on weight,
Yeah.
right? And she was dating some dude who I not an attractive guy,
Yeah.
okay? And me being the petty asshole that I am,
Yeah.
I was just thinking in my brain, oh, this is
That's
the
someone you have
this is the
chemistry with.
chemistry you're looking for.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And I wanted, I mean, believe me, I wanted to be like, oh, you know, hey, how are you doing? But
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well.
But it was just weird because okay, it's not just guys who are sort of like like all about physicality or
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
And it struck me as her being hugely hypocritical now that she was less attractive than she was years ago.
Hmm.
That she's, I don't know, suddenly opened up her eyes to like, oh, it's all about the the personality or whatever it was, and it
Yeah.
kind of pissed me off. I got to be honest.
Okay.
I was just like, oh, okay,
That
I
makes-
wasn't good enough
Yeah.
then, but this.
But you would be good enough at that point, possibly.
I mean,
But you
yeah.
didn't want to, right? At that point, because she had changed.
No, I was like, I dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
But that said, I was like willing to, at that long years ago, I was willing to
Mhm.
see if there was actually a
Mhm.
more substantive
Yeah.
emotional component.
But
that,
she was just like, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
physically not what I'm looking
yeah,
for."
I'm not
Is
into you. Yeah.
That's what you gathered, right?
Yeah.
But who knows what she's thinking? Actually,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. And yeah, I think women say one thing and one another thing
Yeah.
a lot of times.
So
Sometimes.
I'd go behind the man she was with, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
start flexing in front of her. I was like, "Oh yeah, you missed this? You missed it?" No, I didn't do that because I'm in terrible shape. But that said, it was like
But we don't know what the reasons are.
we don't.
Even though you feel like this guy is completely like undesirable compared to you, of course, which I think most men are. But you know,
Thanks,
there's no we don't really know what the reasons are. She picked this guy.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe she was on another date, right? Where it was like a first date.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you sensed that it was or not. And maybe she would have rejected that guy as well. Maybe she's the one who got tricked this time.
Maybe. And
you know?
And you know who that man was?
What?
O.J. Simpson. No, just kidding. No, it wasn't.
Yeah. So,
but
I do think, like, you know, when you get to know people at our age, that, you know, you sit down and talk with them, that's what you figure out.
Yeah.
At that point, you know, is there something you want to continue to pursue or not?
Yeah.
You know, there has to be some initial attraction, of course, but
okay.
Yeah.
I have a good question for you. Do you think apps make it too easy to find the next person? Like, it makes people too picky.
I think that apps are, you know, first of all, there's a lot of these days, a lot of like scams on apps, so to say, or things aren't, you know, everything is all visual as far as apps, and then what you write.
Yeah.
So if you're not a good writer, you're probably not going to do well. And if you don't have good pictures, you're not going to do well.
Right.
Yeah, I think, you know, and so if you are good at using the app, you're going to get a lot of dates maybe.
Yeah.
If you're not good at using the app, regardless of whether you're a good, you know, you're a good date or not, you probably won't get, you know, and so like people, when they go through apps, they look more for statistics, certain stats, you know, and they look for certain pictures, and there's a whole, like, all sorts of things you have to do maybe to attract yourself to most people or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you know what to do, you're going to get good response. If you don't, you're not. But I think, like, some people probably, because of that, some people are better off, you know, if they can, just going out in real life and trying to meet people.
I've found that much more successful.
Yeah. And I think also the thing about dating apps is, like I said, people are good at manipulating the dating app or using it. So there are people that, you know, the pictures they use will not really show, you know, the true self.
Yeah.
You know, there's some exaggerations about what they are a lot of times, and then once you meet them, you know, a lot of times, you know, if you can get the date, maybe, for some people,
then you can win them over.
Then you can possibly win them over. Yeah. So when, you know, if you look at through all this advice that people give, like, let's say you're, you know, you want to exaggerate your height.
Yeah.
You know, if you're 5'10", say you're 6 feet. And then once you meet them, they don't really care. They can't tell.
Yeah.
They're not going to get out a measuring stick.
Yeah.
So you just exaggerate a little bit. You do, you get the best pictures. You maybe need, some people get a professional photographer or something. Uh, you know,
Something. It sounds like. I mean, in overall in our in sort of limited experiences
Yeah.
with dating in our 40, 50s, in our
our
50s,
middle age.
in our middle age. It seems like, okay, number one, know what you want, right? Know what type of relationship you're looking for.
Yeah.
Be honest. Number two, be honest. Be honest with whoever is out there.
Yeah.
With who you are. Be comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
And sort of be open to sort of learning about that person that you meet with. So
Yeah.
those are our words of wisdom that we are imparting upon the world today.
So I guess we haven't really answered the question.
No.
What qualities are we looking for that turn us on or we find attractive?
Well,
so aside from the complete physical appearances, got a girl who's real big boobs and ass and not a small waist, whatever, whatever physical, what else maybe is something that you would say
I would say
turns you on?
I think honesty is number one for me. Just and then a sense of humor is pretty crucial.
Yeah,
they gotta at least understand my lame jokes, because that's very helpful.
It's very hard to understand your lame jokes.
I know. Trust me,
that weeds out a lot of girls.
There's a lot of women that have rejected me, and I've rejected. No.
Yeah.
So I think in a understanding, like a mutual understanding of where the other person is at in their lives. Like, oh, I know where this place is at. She understands where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of like work together to reach certain goals. I think that's, and if you're able to talk to each other, I think communication is exceptionally important.
Of course.
If you're gonna have someone who's not very good at like expressing what they're actually looking for,
sure,
that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
But I think honesty, communication, understanding.
Some good qualities, I think. Yeah.
So, and cool. It helps if they have a good sense of humor, and and I think good sense of humor also comes with intelligence. So, yeah, always good.
Definitely, I think intelligence is a big thing.
And giant tits and ass are helpful.
Oh, I mean, those are a nice bonus for sure. I like those.
But
aside from that,
I'm not so into that.
Well, I think
to each their own.
Okay, so if you can get those, great. But aside from that, I think you really, you need, for me, intelligence, right? And I think, someone that's experienced, I think that, knows how to please you.
Oh, so like sort of physical chemistry.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of chemistry, of course, with any person of any age, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, honesty, and I think that goes along with, because I think the biggest thing is for me is it's tough for me to trust someone, at my age and what I've, through other relationships, I want to be able to at least have I want to be able to trust someone. So having honesty, being able to be open-minded is good. How they deal with conflict.
Yeah.
I don't want, at this point in my life, I don't want some sort of toxic drama-ridden relationship.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing as well. And so,
Agreed.
maturity.
Yeah.
I think it goes along with maturity and just, being able to, when there are differences, being able to talk and not take everything so personal, hopefully. I think those are it. And just, being available to some degree. I think we both have to align, like, that we were both going to be available for each other.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed is some girls play games,
Yeah.
some girls don't, and it's either one or the other. They're either uh, play this game where you text them or you try to call them or something, they ignore you, and then
Right.
you do it again, and then they'll respond. And then, so every other text or something, it seems like there's some sort of rule in their mind that they only respond to like every other text or something like that.
See, that's pretty.
I'm like,
that's
after
pretty,
a while, I'm not going to do that.
That's pretty unacceptable.
I don't care how good looking you are or whatever. It's not going to, it's not worth it for me.
There's a certain basic decency
yeah.
and consideration
yeah.
for other people's time and feelings.
Right.
And it's like, if they're not doing that, they're not really a overall decent human being. Yeah. I don't think so. That's a problem.
I mean, I can understand, like, and this is not to say like if they ignore it once or something, but like you can tell, like
there's a pattern of behavior,
right? Yeah. There's someone like, there's a pattern, like you said. Yeah, they're constantly, they're ignoring every other text.
Yeah. Again, these are part of the red flags that people should be aware of.
Yeah.
So
another thing is, not that this has happened to me, if on the first date or second date, if someone was suddenly going to ask me for money to help, probably would call it off right there.
That's a bit of a red flag.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I think there are women out there who, I think they value certain things like nice cars and nice clothes, and I think those they're not necessarily, I mean, it's not completely completely a no-go, but I think, I would have to really caution when I see that, because I think, like, I would really tread carefully.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it seems like that could be a potential warning flag.
Yeah.
That person's not going to be compatible. They're just out to get something from it, materially or something.
There's certainly a lot of
or using you in some ways.
People pulling grifts.
And I don't want that. So some other people would be like, yeah, I'm fine with that. So.
Well, anyways. Okay, I think that kind of sums up what we're looking for, right? As middle-aged dudes.
Yeah. Middle-aged dudes.
Middle-aged dudes in our 40s.
Who are just top prospects.
No, we're both off the market, ladies.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You get on the waiting list.
Okay.